What's going on YouTube? Hayden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we will be discussing Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as XLM to BTC. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up if you like the content. Furthermore, in today's episode, we will also be discussing the correlation and causation between Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, Litecoin, and the stock market, S&P 500, Dow Jones, NASDAQ. Is there a correlation between the two? It's definitely a brought up topic. It's actually gaining quite a lot of popularity. So I did want to be discussing that with you today. Otherwise, before we jump into today's episode, yesterday night at like 9 p.m., I live currently on Long Island. I was in Astoria, Queens yesterday, and I was driving home at, like I said, 9 p.m. when all of a sudden the whole sky, it was pitch black, turned bright blue. And I was freaking out. I thought there were aliens coming to attack, Long Island and Queens and New York City. Turns out Con Edison in Astoria, which is a huge power plant, exploded. Or it's not a transformer, but like some type of electric neuron, something exploded in the power plant, and was so bright and so powerful that it lit up the entire sky blue. So check out, I'm gonna, post a couple of videos of it happening, and I think it's pretty wild. Definitely, surprisingly, nobody was hurt, but, check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Otherwise, let's jump into today's episode and get into the TA. All right, so we are currently on the coin market cap, and as you guys can see, the market cap is 133.1 billion. We can also see that the 24-hour volume is 18.9. We also have a Bitcoin dominance of 51.8. So what I can tell you from that is we are actually up quite a bit from yesterday's market cap. I think we've increased by about, I'd like to say 5.1 bill. So we are definitely moving upwards. We're seeing the markets slowly increase, and we will discuss why that is in a second. Also, 24-hour volume went from around 20 billion 2 days ago to 14, and now we're at 18 billion. So 4 billion has been added to the 24-hour volume on the exchanges. Also, Bitcoin dominance is slightly decreasing from yesterday. So things are definitely looking good. Positive. Markets are moving back up. That is obviously something beautiful to see. Another key thing to point out is I'm now noticing that Litecoin is now back in number 7 spot, up 15% on the day. Absolutely phenomenal. Rest of the market, actually the entire market is doing great and crazy. And that's what I wanted to talk about in reference to cryptocurrency. Is the stock market at all correlated? I know correlation doesn't mean causation, but is there a tie at all between the markets and cryptocurrency? That is what we're going to be discussing in today's episode. As you guys can see, though, the markets are they're doing beautiful. Everything is in green. Everything is doing wild. Eternal token is up 126%. That is huge. But otherwise, as you guys can see, Bitcoin is attempting to break $4,000 once again. XRP up 5.9%, up at 37 cents. Ethereum up 13%, 137. Bitcoin Cash up 12% at 176. Litecoin up 14.5% at 33.26. Everything is doing beautifully. Tether, one of those coins that just doesn't really move right now, at $1, only at 0.1%. We're pretty much blasting off. Litecoin again about to break that $2 billion mark in terms of market cap. But what I really want to discuss with you, yes, we will be looking over Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XLM. But what I really wanted to discuss was the correlation potentially between stocks and crypto. I know recently when I've been watching the news and stuff, we've definitely been discussing the S&P 500, Dow Jones, where these stocks are headed. Looking at Amazon stock, I know has been down quite a bit too. And I wanted to see if there's any correlation between the two. So I did want to just look at those. There is an article, though, that I did found on ccn.com. It says, newsflash, Bitcoin price pops higher as Dow and S&P 500 erase pre-market gains. So yes, the market was up, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, but it started to, dump lower, and Bitcoin prices actually decided to move up higher, much higher to be precise. So as we can see here, the Bitcoin price and the wider crypto market made a fevered leap back toward the recent highs on Friday, shaking off Thursday's substantial sell-off like we saw. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, and other U.S. markets indicates we fell back into a decline. So it seems like, from what we can understand now, if we, play dumb as if we're just new, it seems like they traded an opposite. Markets, stock markets, fiat money is down. Not necessarily fiat money, but the stocks, the shares are down, and crypto is up. So is there a relationship between those two? We then see Bitcoin had a languishing near the $3,600 level. We pretty much made a near run to $4,000, which you can see right here, beautifully drawn out. This is looking at the... I can't even see if this is the 4 hour or the 1 hour, but either way, you can see a massive jump. But this is starting at 3,600, making a leap all the way to 4,000 or near 5,000. We can also see we also pivoted downwards on the S&P 500, the Dow Jones. So that is what I wanted to show you guys. It says, notably, while the crypto market is not directly correlated in traditional equities, Bitcoin's move to the north occurred in tandem with the stock market break to the downside. You see that opposite relationship. Both the Dow and the S&P posted notable drops in the hours following Friday's opening bell, erasing pre-market gains that had suggested stocks would end the week on a high note. As of the time of writing this, the Dow was down 85 points, 37.37%, and the S&P was down 0.28%, while NASDAQ flashed a 0.4% decline. So then I did a little more research, dug into it, and I found that Bitcoin is not correlated with stock markets, says fund manager analyst. So Anthony Popliano maintains that Bitcoin shares no correlation with the traditional stock market. For the Morgan Creek digital assets chief, there is only a best minor psychological relationship between both asset classes brought on by traders with diversified portfolios containing stocks and cryptos. And then it says Bitcoin has proven to be non-correlated. So we saw that they were opposite. Now they're saying they're not correlated at all, or even if they are correlated, it doesn't mean one caused the other. If you look at the correlation between digital assets and the S&P 500 over the last 180 days, it's at 0. If you look at it compared to the dollar index, it's near 0. It has proven that it to be non-correlated, and I expect that to continue. So it's very interesting. You can also see CNBC is also talking about it. Is it tied with the markets? It's definitely becoming a popular trend. So I did want to make a video on that before it became dull. The counter argument would be that both markets are down. However, for Pompliano, this has more to do with psychological factors than anything related to credible data. In the past, many stakeholders have argued whether Bitcoin shares any correlation with traditional markets. We've discussed that too. A Yale study published earlier in the year showed Bitcoin price action had little to do with the events in the mainstream market. The timing of the downturn in both markets could just likely be coincidental. So that's another interesting trend. There is a little more information on here, going into whether or not, Bitcoin is at a low already, if it's going to head lower. Like last time Bitcoin traded at the level was in 2017 before its massive price surge that took it to nearly $20,000. In the days leading to Christmas, BTC decided to significant, shoot up in price. So basically it says, despite the year-long bear market, the Morgan Creek digital assets chief believes it is the asset class, or believes in the asset class. He notes that Bitcoin fundamentals, which are driven purely by mathematics and code, were far better than those in traditional market landscapes. So just because he says they're not correlated doesn't mean he's negative or anti either of them. He does think there's a lot of potential within Bitcoin and crypto. So he definitely believes in the company, and he believes in crypto, and he believes in Bitcoin, that there is potential for it to move higher. So let me know in the comments down below, do you agree with Anthony Popliano that Bitcoin isn't correlated at all with traditional stock markets? Let me know in the comments down below. So I then wanted to just pull up the S&P 500. As you can see, I just Googled S&P 500 on Google, and you can see we are currently actually up 3.9%, but we are at $2,500, and you can see shifting our focus to October, so October, November, December, almost 3 months now, we were at a high of $2,900, you can see, and we have recently decided to fall and pull back down. We reached a low of 2351, so 2,351. We were at 2,900 at our peak. Now we were at 2,300. We're currently trading at 2,500. So a huge fluctuation, but in the end, we're down quite a bit. Does that have any relationship to do with crypto? We know Litecoin and Bitcoin and crypto has been going down too. Is there a relationship with it? They're both down right now, and you can see it's actually doing fairly okay right now, but they did say that they were, you know, oppositely correlated. Another thing, we're looking at Litecoin right now on its daily. What's interesting, you know, somebody said there was an inverse head and shoulders forming. I'm trying to piece this out right now, and it's interesting. I am kind of seeing what they're talking about. You can see the inverse head and shoulders is forming on the daily. Oops, let me just draw that. So that is very possible. That is very possible that we're seeing this. I can even move this down a little lower. This could potentially be the inverse head and shoulders that we're seeing on Litecoin's formation. Definitely something to keep a note of and an eye about. It's definitely making an interesting move. We'll see if we can complete it. I do think we're going to move up to like $35 around that region before we can really see whether or not we're going to break out from the, you know, from the inverse head and shoulders. It's such interesting. I'm trying to take it all in right now. We are trading at around 53 on the relative strength indicator, so there is plenty of potential to move us up higher on the daily. Let's check out the 4-hour if we're overbought now. What a wild like change of events. You can see we were overbought back only a couple days ago. I believe today is the 28th. Okay, so around 10 days ago, we were overbought, and we've pulled back down for the previous 10 days, bottomed out right here at 27.50, and then we're blowing up, you know, exploding back upwards. We saw that green band cross below the red band, indicator of going lower. Currently, you can see we then reversed, hit a very, very, very strong support at that level, and are currently flying back up. So I do think 35 is going to be the region to test. A very interesting, you know, reversal. Nobody was really expecting that to blow up that quickly, but it did. Furthermore, let's move on to Bitcoin. There we go. Bitcoin doing the same thing. We actually drew a support right here, and you can see where that ties into. It's actually quite nice looking. Right there, beautiful. So you can see a few things. We do have previous support right here. So in this region that we're at, there was a lot of support indicating that a reversal could happen. We're on the 4-hour right now. You can see obviously 1, 2. We had wicks down here, but the main one was right here. You can see we had a clear resistance back on December 9th, and then we fell much lower, catching a support down at 3,100. You can see previously we were kind of caught up or tied up with the high-low MMA on the 4-hour, and then we fell, broke bearish, hit 35.88, which is clearly a nice support level, and we exploded back up. We were extremely overbought previously back on the 24th, so only 4 days ago, and now you can see we're nearing overbought. So that's one indicator that I'm kind of getting a little nervous about. Yes, we're back above the high-low MMA. That is definitely a good thing to see. And, you know, with the green band being below, I don't think it is caught up yet to say that we're overextended. So I do think we're going to hang out in these price ranges for a couple more days before maybe potentially pulling back down lower. But otherwise, it doesn't look, you know, half bad. You know, we are facing some resistance up here. We're nearing overbought on Bitcoin's 4-hour, so that's another indicator that we could be, you know, holding off a little too long up here. But, you know, with a pullback, you know, I can only see us going back down to like 37.70, which isn't really much of a decline. This is the big one that I wanted to discuss with you guys. Ethereum is making huge progress right now. So we did discuss, and I did say in yesterday's video, we found a secure uptrend on Ethereum's daily, and we wanted to see whether or not this was going to hold true. And clearly it did. We discussed that with the bearish break, that candle was not fully closed yet. It did manage to close below, which was unfortunate. We did see that, but we said we're waiting to see whether or not we could get right back into this uptrend. You know, the biggest issue was this resistance right here at around 131, the uptrend, and we were discussing whether or not we could build up enough volume and pressure to push us back into the uptrend. So this is the triangle that it made, and there was a lot of resistance right here. This was a lot of resistance, and we were trying to figure out whether or not this candle could break the clearly a resistance now, but it is now acting as a support, that uptrend. And with enough support, as you guys can see, we blew right up past that, and we're currently trading back in here. So we're looking for this candle now to close, Ethereum's candle, to close above the uptrend, and then we should continue to move up. Beautiful moves in terms of where, you know, Ethereum is expected to move to. Now looking at XLM on its daily before we wrap things up. As you guys can see, we pretty much found another support like we've had in the past at around this price right over here. You know, this is Stellar Lumens to Bitcoin on Binance, so that is why I'd rather not read the numbers. It's 0.0000298 for all those who want to know where that line is, if you wanted to draw that. We have plenty of room to move higher on XLM, so I am kind of pro XLM right now. I do think we're going to continue to move up. We're only at 43 on the RSI. I do think we're going to hit some resistance up at this uptrend right here, but I do think that's where we're headed next. So I think within a couple of days, we should be retesting that support or that resistance. And then I do think we're going to break above that, have some play with the high-low MMA, but at least we'll be back in the, you know, symmetrical formation that's happening. Otherwise, that's going to sum up today's episode. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up if you like the content, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode. Peace.